Hey.
Hey!
I missed you guys so much. Do you have any idea? So much. I've been
How did I get here?
hiding
What's
under
happening?
a rock. I woke up this morning with a sense of like, I miss the people. I miss everything. Oh, look, Jonathan's here. Yay!
How did we get here? I still don't know what's happening.
Well, I sent you a linky thing and you ignored all your security awareness training and you trusted it and clicked it anyway.
No, that's not true, because you sent it and I didn't access that email. And then I said, I guess I'm uninvited. And then I was sad.
Yeah, and then I sent you another link in another place and you definitely ignored all your security awareness training and just clicked it.
No.
It's precisely what happened.
Okay.
Hey, John, we see you.
We see everyone. We see them all.
We do. So I was inspired this morning and I missed you all. And I was like, you know what? That's it. We're just going to, usually there's like some setup, a little planning, not much, let's be honest. There's more.
A lot.
There's more planning and setup. And usually there's a fabulous guest that is not a regular appearance. But today we have Will McCullen with me as always. And Levy. I always want to use a big name, but Levy. Just cybersecurity chatting. Today's topic is going to be happy work and good environment.
I don't like talking about happy things.
I know you don't like talking about happy things. It's like anti your motif. Like
it is. So much, in fact, that Jerry is disappointed in you.
Oh, Jerry. So for those who have not hung out before, beep bop talk. I like it. For those who, hi Eric Russo. For those who have not previously joined us many months ago, we did this live stream on a weekly basis on Fridays at this time, streaming to you in many different places: Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, all the YouTube.
Wherever I'm allowed to annoy people that day.
It was really cool too.
And it's fun. And I am Rachel Arnold. I am Director of Business Operations and Strategy for Activision Blizzard King. This is Will McCullen. Will, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
I'm the Program Manager for the IT Center of Excellence for Pima Community College in Tucson, Arizona.
Yes, very cool. If you guys have not heard of Pima Community College, you need to go check it out, see what kind of really neat things they're doing in the area of cybersecurity and education, and we're gonna get back to that in a second. Now is Levy's turn.
I'm Levy. I command an army of spiders. Hello, goodbye.
Yeah. So what that means is, if you say,
I hate introducing myself. I hate it. If you say Darknet 3 times, I am obligated by contractual Beetlejuice laws to show up.
Yeah.
And probably fight somebody. I don't know. It really depends what's going on.
Yes. Hey, look, it's James.
So many friends. Hello, everybody. We've missed you. I will not. I'm putting out a goal that I'm immediately taking away because I just remembered what we're going to talk about. I was going to say I won't talk about Darknet today, and then I'm like, never mind. We are absolutely talking about that today, so never mind.
Perfect. I love it.
Take away immediately.
So here's the point I wanted to make, since Will educating in the cybersecurities. By the way, you're going to hear screaming kids and see things happening in my background. I am definitely a mom. And
did you feed the gremlins after midnight? Because I've heard that's bad.
We did. They multiplied. So they are home for the summer.
Wow, real life.
Yeah, real life. Real life is happening in the blurry background.
How
and
weird.
I have an amazing spouse-husband thing. His name is Scott.
Spouse-husband thing.
For
Yay.
who don't know, he also works in the cybersecurity space as a
shut up, Mandy. I see you.
A SOC analyst. Where's Mandy?
She's in the chat. She just said Darknet 3 times.
That's awesome. So, yeah. So a couple weeks ago, Josh was messaged by a mutual acquaintance of ours who is a student not in cybersecurity. So that's important. Put that.
I remember this one.
My best friend, my new friend.
She was concerned because of an assignment that she was given in her 101 level, right? Like entry level cybersecurity.
It's not even a cybersecurity course. I can't even let you get through the first sentence.
Okay.
It's not a cybersecurity course.
What was it?
It's an information management security course or something. Information security, something like that. Information management. It wasn't even a cybersecurity course. There's absolutely, under no circumstances, any reason to be doing this.
Okay, so hold on. I'm going to read the course assignment to you. You ready for this? All right, all my cybersecurity people, listen up. This was the assignment that they were given. No segue, no proof, like no preface, like nothing else, right? Students will learn about Tor, the onion router, install the software, and take a guided tour of the dark web. Students will be given a safety discussion for their protection before exploring marketplaces that sell hacked accounts, medical records, military arms, drugs, and a variety of other black market merchandise.
I hope you got to see all of the cringing.
The purpose of this exercise is for students to become more aware of cybersecurity and their digital footprints. That's good. I like that part.
That's not what the assignment does, though.
No, it's not. Students are discouraged from using this information in a life of crime. Number 1, here are the instructions step by step. With and I'm assuming the safety part of this has not occurred yet. This is just the assignment. Okay. Step number 1, install Tor. Step number 2, go to HTTPS.
No. Rachel, stop.
A bunch of other stuff after that.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I wasn't going to go the whole route. I know better.
Didn't even need to go that route.
Except it's a .org, right? You got that.
Yeah, it's a .org. Silk Road, a bunch of stuff in between .org. Step 3, register an account, log in, and browse.
Oh, wait, but my favorite part of the assignment.
Number 4, take a selfie of your face in front of your computer screen. Must be able to see the face and the Silk Road website, and then upload it to our internal education thing, Canvas.
Y'all, I almost retired. I was like, I can't be in this industry anymore if this is what we're doing. I almost left. I was like, I'm going to go find a new career path. So hang back out with the dead people instead.
So this mutual acquaintance of ours is like, this feels wrong. Is this
You reading that out loud physically pained me. I want you to know that. I was in physical pain at multiple points during that.
So Josh made a big post about this. And I do believe he's been blocked by a few people, probably the professor. And there's a discussion happening about it. I think we posted it like last week. Was it last week? It was last week.
Yeah.
So this happened. Since then, here's the update. The student in question has refused to do this assignment and was given the response that they would not be eligible to receive anything above a C for the class if they refuse to do this. No sense.
What if they just missed that day of school? Like that. So I want everyone to know that that assignment is worth 7.5 points. Unless you have no other assignments, exams, tests, homework, labs, anything, in which case, what are you doing in this class? You're already not doing what the class is about. But if you have, there's no way to get a C for missing one assignment. That makes, you are clearly bad at math, in which case, do not be running a database information security management system course because you need math for that. Fight me.
So this leads me to my next point. Do we feel like this is toxic? I think so.
No, this is normal. Unfortunately, both of those things can be true at the same time.
So here we go, right? We have someone in a position of power, right? Utilizing that power to intimidate someone in a position of lesser power, right? Right? Okay, so that's what's happened. The lesser power individual has raised concerns based on facts and pollings from people in the cybersecurity space, including Levy.
I offered to talk to this professor. I was like, call me in, tag me in.
Right. And has refused to acknowledge or discuss any of the points that were brought to their attention, and then was like, ultimatum, right? That's it. You get a very hard ultimatum. We're not going to discuss this. We're not going to bring it about. So then, right. So how would we like for this to go? What would be the happy version of this story? Happy version would be 1, this assignment would never happen. 2, if it did happen, whenever, right, like concerns were raised, they would be heard in a respectful way and like addressed, right? Not just dismissed and here's the ultimatum.
Yeah. So I had back before the end times of COVID started, I had a class on darknet investigations. And you had to pass a certain level to get into my class. And even then, you had to go through a few hours of OPSEC training to actually be able to go on tour and do the activities. So the fact that it's just, hey, don't buy drugs, but go pretend you're going to buy drugs and take a selfie that could definitely tie you to this site that may or may not actually be a government-run thing to catch people who are going to the site, or it could be a bad actor group, or it could be any of this stuff. And unfortunately, this is not the only case of this I've seen. There's a certification program out there that has a tour section, and they do the exact same thing. In fact, pushing people to actually email bad actors in order to get a key phrase to prove that they've done the course. And so I'm seeing more and more people pushing this bad, toxic, dangerous behavior and then refusing to listen or communicate about it afterwards. And this student could have had no connection to you guys or to me or anyone who is quote unquote an expert in this area, and could have brought up these concerns, and they were entirely legitimate and should have been able to been discussed. If you cannot talk about somebody who has talk about something with someone with a dissenting opinion, you clearly are more defensive than educated on the subject. And I don't want to see it.
You know what? I feel like that, I mean, and this is something that like, you know, Ryan Cloutier and them preach all the time, is that feeling that digital and virtual environments, like they come with this, this element, like this feeling of safety that's not there, right? That we know is not there. Like for some reason, people feel like their behavior is acceptable digitally, and it, like if you sent like a criminal law student to go down the street and like infiltrate into like a gang, right, and become part of that, and then be like, take a selfie next to the gang members, like people would be like, what? No, that sounds very dangerous, right? And then, but then the digital equivalent is, it feels like it's this assignment, and it's like, why are you concerned? It's just the internet. I'm like, I'm very concerned because it's the internet.
That's
Well,
the internet too.
There's a lot more to unpack here, folks, because when you come across a situation, if you have somebody who represents an institution and then giving direction that might put a person in harm, right? That starts to develop elements of liability. And then also when you add to that in the text of the assignment, an assumption of going to an illegal space and then asking that person to create a picture that is basically incriminating evidence,
Right.
You are now starting to head down some really ugly territory. But the thing that for any student that might be listening, the thing that I want to point across to you is that you have resources. And many different institutions do this slightly differently. But first, start heading to the dean. You can head to your student services, whatever that might be. There are resources at every education institution where you can start ringing the bell. right? And take that up, right? Because you can't you can't let those things lie. That kind of stuff where it is putting people in danger, and the complete ignorance of some of this is absolutely unfathomable. And just because your IP might be anonymous, that doesn't mean you can't go to places where they're going to take advantage of vulnerabilities on your machine and add software to your machine that will do all sorts of things. Right? There are so many areas in here, not to mention browser fingerprinting and all that kind of stuff, right? They're just so we can talk about all the problems that are wrong with that all day long.
I'm pretty sure that my
My wolf pup's passed out, so we will talk for Rachel for the moment. No, I'm gone. I'm honestly just kind of disgusted with this whole situation, because first off, we originally, when Rachel told us about this, thought it was an intro to cybersecurity class. So I wrote up this whole thing in the middle of my day explaining how this is not an intro level thing, and it is not something you should be going over without proper OPSEC beforehand. And I went through all the focuses of the liabilities in cybersecurity and for the workplace later on, as well as the school. Blah, blah, blah. Then out of nowhere, we find out it's not even a cybersecurity class. Technically, it's an information management course. And you cannot, maybe someone out there can, someone somewhere can explain to me how an information management course needs you to go on to tour. I guess marketplaces have a lot of inventory you need to look at that you can't find on Walmart. Like, I don't understand.
Well, so, the ignorance, right? Because it's a .org site.
But once you go to that site, first off, anyone who's sending you to that site specifically, anything with the title of Silk Road, you didn't do your research. There's so many levels of problems there, because even if it's a new mirror, or it's a new site it's the same name trying to get that audience to come back, then you know who's probably on there. There's always the chance that it is some sort of government setup system, not like a setup, but something for monitoring. Don't worry, Rachel, we good. And that could get you in trouble if they're tracking IP addresses, fingerprints anyway. Forget about the bad actors. And then on top of that, you have this location that historically not only has to do with drugs, paraphernalia, and weaponry, but so much more. And you're sending them to a .org just so that they can get the V3 Tor link? Suspicious. I'd rather you send them to a RAID forum mirror that's also hosted by a government org. Yeah, I agree with Mandy. So if you're looking at the LinkedIn live chat, it's faster than the one we have here. Mandy's like, it's the Silk Road that gets me. I'm like, that was probably the tipping point. I was building steadily throughout that assignment, real annoyance. And then the Silk Road, and I was like, you've read an article somewhere that told you what Tor was, right? Like, you tell me you don't know. Tell me article. You are ignorant and not just an idiot, please. Please, I beg.
It's so bad.
Yeah, and like Paul's like, info management does not need Tor, period. I don't know. I cannot find any reason why it would be necessary.
I was just.
You're quiet, Rachel.
I was so. Oh, am I? I was so flabbergasted by this the whole time, just the whole time. It was just.
It was angry time.
Honestly, oh my gosh.
Well, the part that gets me, right? Because I'm in education, and like Jim wrote back there a little bit, it just shows how bad and ignorant many elements of higher education are about this whole industry. That's a problem.
It is.
Right? And that part really saddens me, because if anybody has the heart of an educator and they're in the education business, they're in it for the cause. They're in it for improving people's lives and giving them chances and opportunities to improve themselves and make things better all around. This obliterates that. And this tears apart the quality of the institution. And that fries me. I'm sorry. It just really, really fries me.
Yeah. 100%. So I shared this, not just like you guys were first. You guys were first. And then I shared it like with some other folks and colleagues, and they thought, and it was like pretty unanimous across the board. They all thought that it was a troll, right? That it wasn't
online joke,
right? Like that it was so bad.
Didn't someone
that it could
say,
not be
believe everything you see on LinkedIn? Didn't somebody say that?
I don't know. Did they?
Not to you. It wasn't to you. It was to Josh. Didn't someone tell him that it was just an internet that not to believe everything he saw on LinkedIn? I think that's what he put in the chat the other day.
Yeah, we're like, this is not just. This was something that was like the student took a picture of like the course assignment, sent it to Josh, and was like, "This feels bad." Bad. And Josh was like, "What? That is bad.
Need help. Bad vibes."
Yeah, right. Like stranger danger. I need an adult.
No, I'm not a fan of any of this shit.
And Josh was like, "I'm an adult, and that is bad."
This also happened to hit me when I was like at peak annoyance mode in general. I was like, I was ready to go I was going to get on a flight. I was going to go to this university. I was ready. I was like, no.
I was messaging people I knew that were maybe a 3 or 4 hour drive from there just to see what their level of interest was, just so you know.
I think I put it in our group chat. I was legitimately ready. Like, call me into the class. I'll talk to the professor. I'll talk to whomever. Just let me talk to you about this, because maybe you really don't know.
Right. I can't imagine that you would know and then do that to a whole group of students.
But there are people, I've definitely run into people who will just do that because they don't take the threat seriously. And like, I have mentioned many times, I go on tour all the time. I hang out there. I live there. That's where all my spiders are. I've been on tour, specifically tour, not other dark webs, since I was like 11. So I've been on there for a very long time. And yeah, there's a lot of stuff there that's whatever. It's benign. It's a lot like the ClearNet, because that's part of the purpose of Tor, is just the privacy and not having to worry about that. But there are dangerous places. And not only is this person saying go to Tor and free roam, like Levi did when they were 11, that was totally safe, but also go to Tor and specifically go to one of the most well-known places, or a mirror of, or a copycat of, one of the most well-known bad actor places, and actively make an account and actively interact with these bad actors in this bad marketplace while you know nothing and potentially have no OPSEC background, period.
Oh yeah, and incriminate yourself too, and we're going to keep that on file.
Photo gets me. I think I got like Mandy said, peaked at Silk Road, real mad. Went down a little bit, like, okay, please, maybe they read one article in their life they don't know. And then I saw the photo one, and I lost it again. Because there's so many levels of bad with that. First off, username. I'll bet you they use the same username they have somewhere else because they're never planning to go there again. Password, probably going to be the same because they're never going to go there again. Or they will, and they just do that. You've got their face associated with a website that the professor is stating they know has illegal activity on it and is a bad actor community, which means that if somehow their IP address got tied to some bad activity, which, by the way, they're probably using a university IP address, which definitely has bad activity going on it, then you now have photo evidence that they could bring to court saying, we know this person was on the Silk Road when this purchase was made.
Yep, 100%. that was for me, that was the, like, everything else I was like, okay, so They mentioned a safety thing, so maybe this is okay. A picture? No.
Yeah, it was a very short assignment, very wild roller coaster happening.
And that's my point. Any education institution that is not taking the safety of their students first, that's a problem. That's a big problem.
Yeah, I don't think the rest of the university has any idea. Do you think? I don't know. I feel like no. I feel like somebody there should have been somebody that said something.
Well, I don't know about like Will's institution. I know some places you're handed materials, you teach that. You don't really get to differentiate from that. I also know that some places nobody cares what you're teaching. Like they don't review your lesson plan beforehand once you get to the university level.
Yeah.
So
unfortunately, that's true.
So they may not know. And if students aren't bringing up that this is a bad thing, which we have to again underline, this is a person who's not taking cybersecurity or computer science, any of those classes. Yeah. They are not working in this field. This is an introduction level class that, for something that we don't know because the title doesn't make sense. And this is all at a freshman level when freshmen are like the least likely to question things because they're new to the game. Even if you take it later as an elective, it's marketed as a freshman entry level class. Mm-hmm. So we don't know how long this has been being taught. We don't know if it's the same as it's been forever, right? We don't know if it's gotten worse or better because Tor has been changing to change their security protocols. So this could have gotten better with that, which is not good because it's not great now, which means if he's been doing it, it might have been worse before.
Yeah.
And so there's so many levels of problematic here. And I can't reasonably I can't reasonably expect that many people at the school knew about it unless students reported it.
Exactly. So Mandy put a thing in the LinkedIn chat that you can see Paul Paul squared going yes to, and it's Mandy mentioned also sending out the instructions before talking about the safety is even worse. Right? Like I didn't understand that either. I was like, there's gonna be, but you sent the instructions step by step first.
With the link, it would be I could accept this. It's still bad. It's still dumb, but I could accept it a little bit if you're like, hey, our next assignment is going to be this. After we do the lecture on OPSEC, I'll release where you're going. The assignment itself still so many problems, but at least like there are so many each level of this assignment. There are so many ways to fix it to make it better, including just not going to Tor, but because it's not necessary in an information management class. But,
I mean, there's that.
The really irritating part is when you look at that assignment, how many folks are going to be doing that from their home computer, right?
Mm-hmm. And their personal laptops on campus, whatever.
Right. And your home computer is where so many people have, talk about PII. That's their entrance to the world, and they don't really know how to protect it many times. Right?
And this got worse when we figured out it wasn't a cybersecurity class, because now there's no reasonable expectation that they have any OPSEC background, period. They probably don't know about fingerprinting. They don't know how to interact with the Tor browser. They might not know that they have to turn on the browser or change nodes or any of this stuff, because none of that is in the assignment and none of that seems to be in the lectures. It's just go to Tor, click and play. And it's so many levels of problematic.
Right? I'm like, that feels irresponsible.
At this point, I think it's beyond irresponsible.
So let's talk about the importance of collaboration around things like the risk of putting out certain content, instructions, and assignments, right?
Because we haven't been talking about that already. Okay.
Right. But I feel like if this professor had a community of people to sounding board or collaborate,
not an echo chamber.
They could have other people in that collaborative circle could have raised these concerns in an appropriate way and been like, have you thought about this though? Right? Like, and then they could have adjusted. And because from, this professor's perspective, this is an excellent assignment and nobody can say
he has to be open to feedback. And especially in situations in a university where someone's tenured and they could sleep in the middle of their class and not get fired, like, listen, I've had those professors. I know that happens. So it really kind of, they could have an echo chamber, which is highly likely the longer you've been at somewhere and you're surrounding yourself with people who are like-minded. And as we can see, blocking people who are speaking up. If the students aren't reporting it, and then the school doesn't know, that's an empty void. So we don't see any change there, which is, again, keeping an echo chamber echoing. There's a lot of problems.
There are a lot of problems, but I feel like this person is real sad, right? They blocked Josh. They had a student confront them and be like, "This is not okay." It's gonna escalate. Like, she's gonna, like, she doesn't have a lot of options, right? She paid for this class. She's not gonna just take a doc in it, right? Like,
yeah,
she's gonna have to raise it up, right? I feel like this person has not made themselves a happy work environment.
They're not open to feedback. This could have all ended with a simple conversation.
Right.
And Paul has a great comment there too about the issue with a Brave browser.
Oh, right? Yeah.
It's now just, you're there. Wasn't that hard?
Now you're there, and now you're going to your bank account and typing in all your information. You're going to your school account, your email accounts. Now everything's stored in that browser while you're on tour.
I like Jim's suggestion. There's always the bad professor dungeon.
This is true. I can tell you that Yale has those. I've seen them.
I like it. So, but what do you do when somebody in like that type of a position, right? That's a position of power. Your professor.
Well, even if it's your coworker who might be a level above you or something like that, right? There's always a possibility that somebody who either has a status above yours or a position of power is going to be like this. And if you can't get them to just have a conversation and talk to you and try to resolve it, or you do and you think it's resolved and it just keeps coming up, then ultimately you've got to escalate it.
Yeah,
because it's just going to get more and more toxic, and you're going to be walking through sludge. And how am I going to type really fast in sludge? That's not going to work. You chunk up my keyboard.
So,
don't get me going down the road of.
Please get going down the road.
Education in general, right? Because we could do a whole episode on just that.
We could do a whole week of nonstop streaming on that.
Could we? Oh no.
But when you compare like a major university, and this is an issue that universities have across the board, they are institutions that create places to do research, create patents, get endowments, a lot of that element, to where unfortunately some institutions are getting a little bit away from the concept of the importance of the education. In my opinion, all my opinion, to where community colleges and things like that are getting a lot more in tune with work industry and those connections. I think that gives them an advantage, simply because their students are their customers, and they are much more dependent upon their customers. And so I think they have to be a lot more attuned to meeting the needs of their customers.
Yeah.
And so and plus, as far as I know, I don't think there is any tenure in community colleges, so that in a situation like that, you can go up the food chain and get attention very quickly. And we need to be able to make sure that we have that operating in the four-year institutions as well. There are a lot of good four-year institutions that do pay attention to the students, to the customers, that is there. But yeah, I hate to say it, there are some that doesn't apply as much, unfortunately.
Several years back, whenever I first really started working in the industry, in the community, and was just happy happy-go-lucky, connecting with everybody and anybody and chatting with everybody and taking phone calls with anyone and all that, right? I ran across someone in a very high position of power, right? Who was also an adjunct professor for a local university, and was sexually harassed. I was legitimately sexually harassed. And I never reported it anywhere because I could just walk away, right? But the damage that I could have suffered if I had raised awareness around the treatment that I received could have been just damning. Just damn. This is somebody that was well respected, still is, you know, and could have very easily dismissed my claims as, you know, illegitimate or made it up, you know, whatever it was. And then I would forever be stamped as this pariah, right?
Yeah.
Like forever, and could never work with a lot of folks because this person in power had way more clout than I did. And what really concerned me about it was the adjunct professor piece. It wasn't even just the fact that they're really high up in their organization, but it was the adjunct professor piece that alarmed me, because I was like, if this is how you treat, if this is the type of way that you leverage your position of power over a woman in a sales type position, right? Like what are you doing to your female students?
Yeah. And other staff at a lower rank. Yeah.
Right. So how do you address that level of power that somebody in that position has in a way that isn't damning?
That is something that at our institution we take incredibly seriously. And we actually have areas where students can report anonymously and deal with things to where they immediately have folks behind them that will go through and find out in detail elements that are not being handled correctly. This is something that needs to be built into education institutions as well, is to understand the influence that a professor can have. The whole concept of the institution by itself, right? You have students coming in wanting to learn, and you have somebody who's supposed to stand up there and be respected, be very knowledgeable, and give grades. The mere concept of giving grades is to some degree a social concept of judgment, right?
Depending on the class, yeah.
And an educator, okay, here I'm going off on my soapbox.
All right, guys, strap in 1 week. Let's go.
An educator has a massive responsibility and a massive opportunity to lift up students and to build confidence, to be able to energize students for wherever they're going to go in their future. By the same token, if they abuse that, they have the opportunity to tear down students. And educators need to be aware to use their powers for good, and that's what is actually involved.
Yeah.
And to do that incorrectly, that has to be addressed. We have to build in, I mean, we have mechanisms here at Pima that address that, but that needs to be done across the nation. It can't be taken lightly.
Yeah. I want to hop in here because this part of the conversation tends to focus really heavily on like female students and other faculty members, but this across the board needs to be done for anyone who has any allegations.
Yeah, it doesn't just happen.
I know, but I'm just saying it in general because this is not a part that we often talk about. And so since we have a captive audience who is trapped here by my many spiders forcing them to watch the stream, I'm underlining the fact that we need to be aware that this is across the board for regardless of gender, sexuality, race. It happens all over the place, and we need to be able to have opportunities for people in workplaces, in schools, in cultural centers, everywhere, that they can come forward anonymously or not anonymously as they desire and report stuff like this, and it be taken seriously as it's investigated. Because otherwise, not only is it a toxic situation like we were talking about, it's a horrible power dynamic, and it will influence how people, regardless again of gender, sex, race, go forward in the rest of their careers and their lives, and how they feel they can interact with their communities. In
Absolutely.
in InfoSec specifically, we're seeing a lot of people complaining about why aren't there more females in InfoSec, and part of it is situations like this of professors who may be making a biased judgment on classes, or maybe even younger when they're in elementary, high school, middle school, high school, they're being told, well, girls don't know math, so you shouldn't go into STEM fields.
Yeah, that was kind of mine. That was mine. That's why I'm late. I'm late to the show, but I showed up. I got here.
But you showed up, and now you're crushing it. And so we have to be aware and able to combat these things and have stuff set up. And it's not going to be 100%. And unfortunately, we also have to accept that, but we've got to at least try.
Yeah, so this is another thing we're working hard on here at PIMA, is that you realize, especially in IT, you have people that are coming in with lots of anxiety. Some of them are terrified when they come in.
Yes.
And so we need to build that support structure to say, hey, no, the norm is acceptance. The norm is respect. And especially in IT, and this is one of the things we're working on here in our Center of Excellence, the whole idea with the hands-on is to blur those lines between teacher and student. And instead of being teacher and student, be folks working together and trying to collaborate to help improve each other.
Yeah.
Right? Because in IT especially, to think that, and Jim mentioned this earlier in the dialogue here, to think that anyone knows it all in IT, forget it.
Yeah.
Right? So let's just toss that baggage out the door. Like Jim said down there, and we have on our door, leave your ego at the door, because that's useless. And so let's instead turn into colleagues working together to try to figure stuff out. And the teachers tend to be the ones with more mileage, but that's the only difference.
And that doesn't mean necessarily that they know, because more mileage sometimes keeps you rooted on a road that's not used anymore.
That's correct.
So you've also got to keep that in mind, that you might be an expert in XYZ, but that's no longer a standard or even primarily used.
Absolutely.
The mark of somebody who can experience true happiness is also their ability to be dynamic and ebb and flow with
talk about happiness.
Sorry. I'm aggressively optimistic. We know this, but your ability to like adapt to ever-changing situations is directly connected to how content and happy you're going to feel about your life, your surroundings, the people you work with, all of it. So like if you can't get on board with some positive change in your life, you're only screwing yourself. Is really you just are. You gotta have a positive attitude about things that are coming up and new directions and changes and all that. I mean,
well,
to
start coming to the original topic that we haven't gotten.
Oh no, wait! I had another thing first. Hang on.
Okay.
I just wanted to backtrack real quick because I think it's interesting. Will, because your center is very hands-on. It's very throw people together and work together. And my thing is the exact opposite. Is I really like full anonymity in classrooms. Like take people's names away, forget everything, and then see how people interact with each other before they're introduced to names and
titles,
all of it, because it's fascinating to see how quickly it changes.
It really is. Absolutely is.
So much fun. And because that's what I do with my, like, all my sleuthing around online, my 5,000 personalities. That's what I do. And it is fascinating. But it can sometimes help people see their internalized biases that were implanted in them, as we see in the chat, people talking about, like James, that those biases are taught to people at a super young age. Because I can ask somebody, or we could ask Will, do you think that female students probably are worse at math? And you being Will is going to say no. But some other guy might be like, yeah, but why? And never have a real answer except for, well, because they're just not as good at it. They don't like it as much. They don't go into it as much. Well, why? And there's so many why questions to get down.
Yep.
It's just interesting to see how those kind of just people default to expecting you to be like them when it's anonymous. And it's very curious.
Right.
Yeah, it is.
And in our realm, right, we're about trying to train. So we're trying to lead people to behave better. We're trying to lead people to be more respectful. But you're absolutely right. If you just leave it anonymous and you let people go down their own rabbit holes, often it's not pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Just look at the country right now.
I'm done taking us away from our actual topic. I just really wanted to run down the anonymous part because I like it.
But the advantage that we have here at Pima too is that we've got some pretty incredible leadership.
Oh yeah.
Our boss, Dean Jim Craig, who's actually down here on the chat, gives a lot of freedom, a lot of trust, and we focus on vision. Because if we don't have that cause, if we don't have that direction to go for, you have to have the inspiration. And the students that come in need that inspiration as well. To understand that it's not just coming in and checking off knowledge points. You want to come in and try to create a career. You want to come in and find out what you want to be in life and be able to have an advantage and a step up and help to get going, right? But that you have to have in leadership high trust. You have to have leadership that develops a sense of security, right? Because fear, like nothing else, will kill creativity and ability in a heartbeat.
And the overall performance of the people that you're,
Absolutely.
100%. Yeah, you can't rule with fear, right? You can't do that. You need to lead with love.
I can't be a leader.
I know. It's okay. That's no, I'm just kidding.
Rachel's just cutting me out of everything today, guys. I don't even know
that's not fair or wholly accurate. That's whatever coping mechanism you have to mask the gushy, mushy heart.
No, don't talk about me. I don't like when people talk about me. Go talk about other people again. Go back to that.
See? Exactly.
I don't like it. Go away.
I mean, if you were wholly mean-spirited, do you think that we'd be hanging out? No.
Yes.
I would not. No, we wouldn't.
I'm Rachel's foil. No, I'm just trying to bring in a little bit of brevity because we've gotten into some heavy topics.
Yeah.
I don't like people talking about me, though, so don't talk about me. So, but
Will, lead with love. Don't be angry.
Yeah.
No. I just had some people walking
I know.
by. I'm like,
Tell them.
oh, I'm in a podcast.
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
The child brigade could come up at any minute. I'm actually quite surprised. I mean,
well, we know they were instructed. The small armada behind Rachel was instructed to stay in their tents.
Yeah, they were. They definitely were. I think Josh, lightheartedly threatened them with duct tape. So
okay, but does the duct tape have patterns? Because that's the best kind of duct tape.
Yeah, we don't have that duct tape where they really would probably tape each other to a wall or chair.
We try forgetting it. They will because it's funny. So anyway, I've derailed this again.
Right.
What is our goal?
It's great. So
there's a lot of girls outside.
So aggressive, uncollaborative, unwillingness to
toxic people.
I don't know. Yeah, all that is toxic, right? And what does it create? That just creates a poor work environment where people hate showing up and they do not feel empowered, or supported because they cannot trust the direction that whoever's in charge is like, this way, we're going this way, right? Like,
well, one of my favorite, right?
And you have to get trust, like you have to trust, like you have to give it, right? You have to give trust to get it. It's an exchange.
One of my favorite videos there, right, is if you've ever watched Simon Sinek, he's got a lot of really good stuff. And he's got this element where he talks about the viewpoints of SEAL Team 6, the effectiveness of that. And one of the things they bring out is that a leader or anybody that is high performance but low trust is a toxic individual and will take down the company eventually, right? Yeah. And so that we've got just a ton of metrics in so many instances to measure performance. How awesome is this person going, right? And everybody knows situations and probably been in jobs where you have leaders that get to the top because they've stepped on so many other people.
They've been, the metrics report that they are high performing.
Yeah, right? So they look absolutely high performance, 100%, but they are low trust. Nobody can rely on them, and they have nobody's back, right? If you are in a situation,
usually a high performer, checks all their boxes. So I don't know about the reliance part, but they definitely, like, the rest of their team does not feel like they can rely on them for support, right? Like this is if you think that this person does not exist, right? And Simon says it too. If you think this person does not exist on your team or that you've never encountered this person before, ask the people on your team, who is the a-hole? Whoever that person is, that's probably the high performer with low trust. Because all they care about is their own metrics and being shiny as they possibly can, and then do not want to support or champion the success of others around them.
And
that's that person.
The one that he brings up too, that SEAL Team 6 identified, is the high performer, the high trust high performer. Of course,
it was like the mid performer, but with high trust.
The high trust mid performer, and sometimes even the high trust low performer, are more valuable to the team.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're the ones who are working to have everybody else's back. They're the ones who are trying to lift everyone up. And those are the people that you need to be able to keep your whole organization running. That's a huge statement. And I wish we could have that in industry.
I can almost guarantee that the high performer with low trust hates the person with high trust and mid to low performance. Hates.
Yes.
I have encountered the high. Well, no, it was actually a low performer with low trust, but
no, a high performer, low trust. I'm right here. Stop ignoring me.
Hated, but I've also been I have felt the repercussions of the high performer with low trust. Like hard and like don't know what to do, like traumatic, like emotional damage has come out of it. And like different settings all throughout different careers and paths that I've taken in my life thus far. There was, when I worked in the grocery business, there was a manager ahead of me that vehemently hated every idea, suggestion I had, everything else. And the leadership above them were like, we love it. Rachel's so so out of the box and all this stuff, and she's really driving it, and I was like, oh, thanks. And it like made the other leader hate me more.
Just you're stealing their thunder, Rachel. How dare you?
Well, and the downside of that was whenever like the big wheels would leave, right? Then I was left with this person who was like kind of in charge of stuff I did on a daily basis, and they made my life a living hell. It was horrible, like horrible. It was awful. And the lesson that is so often learned out of situations like that is don't overachieve. Mm-hmm. Don't try hard.
Stay in your lane so I can have mine.
Right. The lesson that is learned is that for me to be successful, I have to make it appear that the person ahead of me is successful, no matter if they are or not. That's the lesson that is learned.
Yeah, you can spot it in a heartbeat, right?
Yeah.
How many know right off that you're under disciplinary situation if you are in a situation where you have to every week give a complete write-up of everything you've done and how you've done it, and so that everything can be analyzed immediately by whoever the boss is. That's usually considered disciplinary behavior. But how many folks out there are there that are boss types that make that regular behavior? When you come across that, you know you're in a situation where you're not trusted.
Yeah, and sometimes it's for no reason other than they won't give you trust. Like they can't. Like they're wounded in some way, right? And that's where the empathy comes in, right? Whenever you come across these people, like I always feel really bad. I always want to help them like emotionally heal from whatever past trauma is in their life, because I'm that person. I'm the fixer, right?
Yeah, and then you end up needing to take like 5 years off because so much trauma dumping happens.
It does. It really does. And I just
mate.
I just want to hug those people, because there's so many people that are just like in our industry that are that level of toxic, and it's because they were treated that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And
to some extent, it's definitely a learned behavior.
Yeah.
Throw up Paul's quote there.
Yeah, I like Paul's.
In leadership, we are second.
Paul.
That's awesome.
100%. Like all the time, all the things. Like if you see that your people are trying to do stuff and they just, maybe it comes down to just even silly, simple things. Like maybe my definition of this term is different than your definition of this term, right? Like maybe when I ask for XYZ and don't clarify what I feel XYZ actually means, you think it's defined in a different way, and now we have a failure to communicate, right? Like that's a failure to communicate right there. Like if you say I need a report on these items, right? But you don't give any clear direction or like what the report's going to cover or entail or what sort of information you're looking for. Whenever they come back and have no idea and like just throw stuff at you, right?
Yeah.
It may not be a one-sided thing where like that person is incompetent, right? It's that maybe you didn't clearly define what you meant by, right? Like what that term meant to you, or what the format, what, like just anything like that, like anything and everything like that. Like if you ever come up against some part of your life where, I mean, it happens with partners too, right? Like one adult will be angry with the other one, but it's not really anger, it's resentment. It's not and you have to like be able to call it out and define it in what it is. So it's so that you can move past it, right? And then get to your happy place, get to the happy work instead of, anyway, you guys, my lunch is almost over.
Well, I'll like to throw in the one thing that we use a lot is the "you stupid idiot" rule, which is if what you say or how you say it, if you can easily append "you stupid idiot" to the end of it, that's probably how people will take it, right?
Yeah.
So
we're gonna start. I'm gonna start doing this more often. We're just gonna. This is my therapy, and I
bring us back. Bring us back.
So sad.
Listen, Paul talked about my hats.
And if you look at the conversation, it seems like we've got some others that enjoy it too. So I think a good place to talk.
I have so many hats. Where else am I going to share them, Rachel?
I don't know. We'll have, you know what? We'll have guests come back and stuff, but in the meantime, we'll just huddle up. We'll just huddle up and do this. How about that? I like that. That's a good way going forward, I think.
Yeah.
Bring it back. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Steve. It was great to hang out with you guys. I miss you so much.
Yeah.
One of these, I will not talk about the dark net. One of them. Personal challenge to self.
And man, I've missed our audience too.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
Yeah,
I didn't even tell anybody. Look at the whole 12 people. There was no warning.
People who will actively engage in a conversation, 300 that won't. And I will bring more hats. I will bring it. I will also teach things, but you got to yell at Will because I've offered. So
I will pass that right on to the individual that's
our
involved.
friend who's hiding from me.
Levy, you should teach it. You should take we should take one of these coffee talks, and you should teach us some dark web safety.
We can do that. I'm also I am starting up a 101 Python course on my Twitch channel that we'll talk about at some point. That if people want to learn that. I already have the environment set up. I'm just finishing all the homework.
Look, I saved it. There's it. Yay.
In the meantime, if anybody has questions for me, I actively will answer people on Twitter. I don't post on Twitter, but if you tag me on Twitter, I will talk to you. I just don't actively post anything. I'm lurking there, waiting to cause problems usually.
That's not nice.
But it's true. So at least we're being honest.
So there's the LinkedIn where to follow, right? Because whenever I applied for LinkedIn Live, it was through previous company. So there it is. They're still family. They're still family.
We love them.
I love them. I love them to death. They've got a very, very cool business model that I was very happy to be a part of. YouTube. There's the YouTube, right? You can do that. How many other linky things? I don't know. Go check out Pima Community College. Do that.
So what we're gonna do is at some point just get a link tree that we can put everywhere.
Oh, I like it.
That will have all of these links, including all of our Twitters and Twitches and YouTubes and everything. Yes,
we had a lot of Twitches today.
I was cringing so hard. Rachel tried to physically harm me earlier. Reading that assignment. Yes, you did. Reading that assignment was physically painful. But we'll get a link tree, and that way we can just pop it in the chats, the YouTube and LinkedIn and wherever else we're doing this. And people can find everything real easy rather than quick typing. Unless you be like me and have a 200 word per minute type speed.
See, and this is the value of collaboration. We build efficiency this way, and we work better together.
Yeah.
Yes. Thanks, everybody, for grabbing a cup and circling up. We will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channels.
Yes. We are back. Bye, friends.